How's it going, everyone? I want to take you guys through some new PlayStation news. We've got a pretty notable free trial that is available. To be perfectly honest, it's a game that I personally didn't enjoy, but you know what? Getting to play 5 hours of a relatively recent release, I always think that you can take that as a slight W. We have a bit of an update on Astro Bot. This is really, I would say, for a lot of people, the biggest PlayStation game for the latter portion of the year. And if you look at exclusives, I mean, it's pretty, like, there's not a lot of big titles, but this is one that I think looks great. It's just a little bit of a departure from what Sony typically drops, but that's not a bad thing. I think this is actually something they need in the market, so we'll talk about that at the end of this video. But right off the top, as noted on one Ubisoft's website, play Avatar Frontiers of Pandora for free until the 28th of July. Play the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora free trial and unfold epic wonders of the western frontier of Pandora. The free trial is available from July 16th until the 28th on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. Play from the start of the game for up to 5 hours or until you reach Home Tree in the main quest. The free trial is only available in single player and requires an online connection to ensure progress is tracked. Co-op is available in the full experience. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, the game is also up to 50% off as a part of the early access summer sale. It's 50% off. The summer sale goes live tomorrow, so it'll be 50% off across the board. And if you do decide to buy the game, your progress will carry over. My personal opinion, and to be perfectly transparent, Ubisoft did give me a copy of this game, so I didn't pay for it, but I did not enjoy this game that much. Now, I'm not a big Avatar fan, so, like, take that for what it's worth, but from an open-world game design standpoint, it's Ubisoft doing Ubisoft things. For some of you guys, you'll really like that. For me, it gets, like, it's an enjoyable experience in the sense that the exploration is pretty cool, the visuals are great, the soundtrack is really good, but the fundamental gameplay and the world design, at a certain point, I was like, alright, I'm good with this. But, you know, if you're an Avatar fan, you'll probably enjoy it a lot more than me. For everybody that's in my boat, that you're not a fan, you just see this as a pretty cool open world game, what I would say is wait until the gold edition sees a substantial discount. By substantial, I mean like 75 to 80% off. I'm sure it'll be 50% off as a part of the summer sale, which will take it down to $55. But if we're talking paid $55 for a discounted game, I don't know. You guys can call me cheap as all hell. Yes, it includes some DLC, which, you know, it's Ubisoft doing Ubisoft things as far as that's concerned. You know, gold edition's at $110 with narrative-based DLC. Not a big fan of that either, but at this point, you've waited 7 months. It's a Ubisoft title, so you know they're just going to get cheaper and cheaper. I would say unless you really have a vested interest in Avatar and you really think the game looks cool, or you really, really enjoy that 5-hour trial, like, try it out for sure, see how you like it, but I would say wait until a deeper discount, and that's for me playing the game. Again, I didn't pay for it, so thank you, Ubisoft, but I try to keep it 100 with you guys. You know, you guys have heard me talk about the Jujutsu Kaisen game, and Bandai Namco gave me a copy of that game. Trying to keep it real with you guys. You know, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, I appreciate the game, but, you know, it's just every Ubisoft open world game, and I hope Star Wars Outlaws turns out to be more compelling to me. I'm trying to get my Star Wars fandom a little bit, you know, a little bit up there these days. Really enjoyed my time with the Jedi games and hoping I enjoy Outlaws, but we'll see how that game turns out as well. Again, with that game, not a fan of the $130 edition and whatnot, but it is what it is, as they would say. All right, moving on from that, we have an interview with Nikolai Desai. I'm sorry if I butchered the pronunciation of his name, but there's a lot of information that was revealed in this interview, and the Icon Era board has a pretty good rundown of all of the information, so I'll go over that. Since the creation of Asabi, they went from 25 to 30 to 65 devs. He said it's a small team compared to other studios with big names, but it's the perfect size for them since they can still keep the Team Asabi DNA. He added that if they grow even more, he wonders if they can keep that DNA, but that for him now, it's the perfect size and they have a really good dynamic. They completely overhauled the engine for Astro Bot. The game will be prettier, have more physics compared to Playroom. Main game is around 12 to 15 hours. They never said to themselves that the game needs to be 20 to 30 hours. Please, God almighty, more of that. I get it, like, $70 is a hard sell for some games, and this game isn't $70, I believe it's $59.99, but man, I just feel like these days with a lot of games, they're just pumping in content for the sake of having content, so you can justify, I guess, promoting the game with 100 hours of content and et cetera, et cetera. Like, that's great at times, but a lot of times these games just get too big for their own good, and that content ends up being diluted. I mean, not to crap on Ubisoft, but I feel like that's what happens with a lot of Ubisoft games. That's just my opinion. They wanted a game where the tempo is constant for the whole game, where each level has the same quality rather than stretching the game out. And especially for a game like Astro Bot, that is going to be much more imperative than a full-blown open world title or something like that. For a game like this where you'll have several worlds to explore, keeping that quality consistent is going to be so much more important. They would rather reduce the length of the game than give an impression of repetition. For the open world, they didn't make a prototype, it was just a brainstorm amongst themselves. He got asked about a PlayStation-themed planet, but he didn't want to answer to avoid overhyping things and keep some suspense, which I like. I like a little bit of air of mystery. They have a team named DualSense 2.0, 3 to 4 people to create new ideas on how to use the DualSense. There are some walls that Astro can touch with his hand that are smooth at first, but become a little rough and then smooth again with haptic feedback, indicating that there is a secret passage behind the roof section. Why there is no VR compatibility? Astro Bot is not a game that can be made hybrid, because a VR game, it'll be mediocre. To make a good VR game, it should be like Rescue Mission, where everything must be thought of for VR. He was asked if PlayStation releases more hardware in the future, will they be added to Astro Bot like the new update Playroom got? He said if their new hardware is released, they will be added to Playroom. So there you go with that. Again, PlayStation's release calendar for the rest of the year is pretty sparse. We don't have that big budget, you know, AAA game like we did in 2023 with Spider-Man, 2022 with God of War Ragnarok, but Astro Bot, I think, looks great, and, you know, it could be something that caters towards a different demographic outside of what PlayStation typically targets, and they're doing that with LEGO Horizons as well. I think games like that, especially because they're not gonna be the daunting undertaking of getting these games out. Again, this is a 65 dev team. That is a very, very small team compared to Sony's biggest studios, and more games at a smaller scale, I think, makes all the sense in the world. I've been saying this for a long, long time, but I think if we see more of that, it would just be something good across the board. And I would imagine that with LEGO Horizon, they're releasing that on all platforms right out the gate, even Nintendo Switch. With Astro Bot, it's going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive, but I almost wonder, would there be some sort of benefit of getting this game out relatively quickly on PC to try to promote this IP a little bit? Obviously, it does have a focus with the DualSense controller, so thinking about how this game would be on the next Nintendo Switch, I don't even know how powerful the next Nintendo Switch is going to be, so that might be, you know, a little bit out there. That's probably not going to happen, but, you know, just an idea I'm throwing out there. But Astro Bot is one of those games, man, that I think, you know, kind of came out of nowhere, and I think a lot of people are getting excited for it. And it is coming out at a time where PlayStation doesn't have a lot of exclusives, so I think people are gravitating to it a little bit more than they typically would. But I also think, you know, a platformer of this level of charm that harkens back to nostalgia, so while it's catering towards a new demographic, also I think the older audience that's been with PlayStation since, you know, the PS1 or PS2 days, they're gonna find a lot of appreciation out of what Astro Bot brings to the table. But we'll see how it turns out. Again, a lot of excitement around that. That is gonna do it for me. Again, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora will be available free to play until July the 28th, and that'll be 5 hours of game time, so go ahead and jump into that. Again, I would say wait for a steep discount to actually check it out, but that's my 2 cents. And Astro Bot gets an update. Game's around 12 to 15 hours, perfect. We don't need every game to be 30 hours. We don't need every game to be 50 hours, 70 hours. 12 to 15 for a game like Astro Bot. If it works, and that's all I'm asking for. And I think, you know, there's one thing about wanting a lot of content for your dollar, but I also do think as the game, there's an older audience of people playing video games these days, and time is finite, and, you know, I love me my JRPGs. I'm still playing through Trails Through Daybreak right now, but I don't need every game to be Trails Through Daybreak. Let's just put it that way. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.